Right. So now we're pleased to have Gustav H, the CEO of PILA PHARMA, to take the stage. Welcome.
Thank you, Philip. Very nice to be back in sunny Stockholm for once. So nice to see some familiar faces in the audience as well. It was very empty the last time I was here. So I am the CEO of PILA PHARMA. I was recently elected by the new board of directors. My name is Gustav Gram. I am, of course, the son of the founder, Miss Dorte X Gram as well, who is the inventor of this principle of treating diabetes with TRPV1 antagonist. So we are developing a small molecule drug in this very nice small tablet, as you can see on the picture. And we are looking to progress this into deeper clinical trials, as we have seen very good results so far. So just about us, very shortly, we started the company in 2014. Dorte was very strong in convincing this public Swedish investment fund called Almi Invest to bet on her and her idea of treating diabetes with this novel mechanism of action. And subsequently, we have listed on the Nasdaq Stock Exchange in 2021 on this First North list. And we have, to date, we have done 2 phase 2A trials in type 2 diabetes to determine that this drug was very safe to use. This drug has primarily previously been considered a target for pain management. So authorities have been a bit wary with us progressing directly into type 2 diabetic patients. Just to give a little background on Dorte, she has a history of as a scientist at Novo Nordisk. Of course, Novo Nordisk is a company that everyone knows today, but she has been on both the once-weekly insulin project as well as the once-weekly GLP-1 project. So the knowledge base is definitely there, and I hope you would believe that as well. A little bit about the molecule itself. So this is a TRPV1 antagonist. It's XEND-0501. It's a molecule that was originally developed by Bayer, and we have subsequently in-licensed it from a British biotech called Sentient Pharma in 2016. So it has been through quite a few clinical trials in the past in other indications where it has shown very good safety, but quite insufficient efficacy. And this, of course, allowed us to take over the molecule. We have to date conducted 2 phase 2A trials, whereas one has shown that it also had very good trends for reduction in long-term blood glucose, which is, of course, a very important parameter when you're doing diabetes drugs. This is actually a slide from quite a few years ago that we made when we started to look at how we want to position in terms of diabetes products. Now, of course, the diabetes market and the diabetes segment as a whole has changed quite a lot with the introduction and adoption of obesity as a new indication, and I'll come back to that in a minute. But primarily we're looking at here is that, of course, the higher you go, the better it is. So we are primarily looking at SGLT2s and GLP-1s as the main competition on the market should we get there. Of course, SGLT2s are what is primarily used right now, as it also has a very good cardiovascular beneficial effect, whilst GLP-1s have a very good effect on the whole body, as well as reduction of weight, as many of you know by now. Of course, GLP-1s have a very different side effect profile and also has a very high cost to it, so it's not available to everyone. And this is a slide I made some months ago as well, and it's basically just to show that until a couple of years ago, cardiometabolic was really not that interesting of a therapeutic area in pharma and among investors as well. It was very largely dominated by Novo Nordisk and Eli Lilly, and to some degree Sanofi as well with their diabetes products. However, with this transition into obesity now as well, we see a huge influx of novel companies coming to do new science in this area, and we see a lot of investor money being pulled into this area. And of course, that spills into diabetes treatment as well. So it's just to say that with the growth in awareness about obesity and the numbers of obese people worldwide, of course, we can expect to see a spillover into diabetes. And of course, hopefully as well, updated statistics on diabetes treatment, but also like prevalence of diabetes. And of course, this is just to show that diabetes is still a global problem. I mean, of course, there's some connection to obesity, but generally speaking, we have a lot of problems around the world. This is not just a Western problem anymore. This is a huge problem in Asia, and especially in Africa. If we look at the slide from IDF, the International Diabetes Federation, their atlas, which they update once in a while, every other year, we see that there's triple-digit growth in a place like Africa. And this is not a place where I would expect GLP-1s to be widely available. So there's definitely a market out there for very efficient and accessible drugs. And hopefully this is what we can supply. This is also a slide that I came across, which basically is done by the IDF, but it's on the basis of data from the World Bank. And it goes to show that there's still a huge amount of people undiagnosed with type 2 diabetes globally, even in Western countries. I believe the more granular data show that almost up to 5 million people in the US, for example, are going around undiagnosed. So there's a huge untapped potential, and there's a huge lack of clarification around the true numbers. WHO has for years underestimated the actual growth in diabetes. So of course that leaves the world with even more problems to fix. And again, this is something we want to tap into. But a little bit about the competition in the market. So this is of course quite a hard slide to just take in immediately, but I want to turn your attention to the graphs on the right side, which is basically to show that among the people who have type 2 diabetes with or without one or, with, for example, chronic kidney disease or history of heart failure, there's still a lot of patients that walk around with insufficient treatment. And this is, of course, for us, it's very apparent that this is where we want to tap in. We hear from a lot of the big pharma guys that there's not a medical need, there's a huge amount of treatments on the market, but the fact is a lot of people go untreated or insufficiently treated. So a little bit about us. Of course, if you know us from the past, you know that we are in phase 2. We are just about to conduct a phase 2A, another one, unfortunately. But this is, of course, a signal that we want to send that we are really believing that this target could play a role in regulating diabetes. What we have seen in the past 2 trials is that the molecule is safe, but only up to 1 month treatment. Now we have, in the last year, we have conducted additional toxicological data that allows us to do, extended trials now up to 13 weeks. So we're looking forward to conduct what is called a dose escalation trial, which in principle is we want to see how much patients can tolerate before side effects get too severe. And of course, we want to measure as well what is the ideal dosing level to achieve the best efficacy. And this is, as far as I hear, right around the time when we're ready to commit and to send in the clinical trial application. So I hope we can communicate something on this very soon. Aside from this, we also have an orphan drug designation for a painful project. This was a designation that was given to us by FDA in the US. We have not really found a large interest in this indication from neither investors or from pharma. I believe that there's simply a lack of information out there regarding the disease and regarding the prevalence. But of course, this is something we would like to pursue still, because if we could get through with this and get orphan drug status, that comes with a huge amount of incentives in the United States, and among other things, it would also validate the target as a pain-treating target. And then we could, to some extent, we could probably include pain as a parameter in the phase 2B trial, which comes later on. And that would make us quite unique in the sense of having a molecule that could be beneficial for treating type 2 diabetes and potentially pain as well, which none of other products on the market currently do. A little bit about the data we have so far. So we have, of course, only been able to treat for 4 weeks, which is quite a limitation when it comes to type 2 diabetes. But we did see a good improvement in insulin secretion over those 4 weeks. And maybe even more interesting, we found a very significant reduction in this biomarker called ANP. This is a biomarker that is associated with the risk of heart failure. We are still trying to clarify what the significance of this biomarker is. But as a matter of fact, of course, we still need to show that it will, that it will reduce even further over longer trials. So this is, of course, something that we keep a very close eye on in this next dose-finding study, which is, of course, a safety trial. But we are, of course, looking to see if we can assess if there's any efficacy trends as well. little bit about the whole metabolic areas, we'd like to call it nowadays, is that, of course, I think, especially in Denmark, because we have Novo Nordisk, we see very often that, oh, they buy this new company for 1 billion, and the next day they buy another company for 1 billion. So there's a huge amount of M&A activity in the metabolic space right now, and this is, of course, very interesting. So largely speaking, if you can prove that you have something that either reduces weight and or is a good regulator of long-term blood glucose and potentially cardiovascular disease, then you're in a good position to negotiate. So far, we of course have good trends for long-term blood glucose and for reduction of heart failure. So we feel pretty confident that if this can be shown over longer trials, it will still be very attractive to pharma. Of course, we are yet to see if there's any reduction in weight, but this is of course of interest in the next coming trials as well. A little bit about the background of the company. So we have a more or less new board of directors. We have taken in 2 new people. We have Julie Brogren and we have Lasse Richter Petersen, who come with significant pharma expertise. They have both been in big pharma. Julie has been at Novo Nordisk and have been running their market entry unit in South America for diabetes products. And Lasse has been with both Sanofi and Eli Lilly as country manager in various countries, and has significant experience in what it takes to market a product and how to position it and how to basically find the gap where your product comes to its best, right? So that is, of course, something we're very happy about. And a little bit about the team. Dorte, of course, the founder, she wanted to take over the chairmanship and she had to step down from CEO, and subsequently I was appointed to new CEO. That means that you're just going to see more of me and less of her, but that leaves a lot of time for her to do science, which I think is good. And just to finish up, this is just a comfort thing for my own pleasing. It's since I was last here in April. Of course, it has been a more fun period, and I think there's, generally speaking, more attractive terms in the financial world right now for pharmaceutical and biotech companies. So just want to say thank you and showcase that we have hired in some new guys as well. We're ramping up. We're very confident that this is going to be great. And there's 2 new guys coming in now. We're decreasing the average age of the company by about 50 years, I think. So we've hired in some young guys, and we all wear Clubmaster sunglasses as well. So hopefully you'll find some appreciation in that as well. Thank you.
All right, thanks a lot, Gustav, for the presentation of the company. I thought that we should start similar to I did with the company before you. In the context of this event, what do you think will be your primary contribution to the field and the patients?
Well, I'd like to think and believe that we can find a gap in the market, as I hopefully showed as well, that there's a huge amount of unmet need around the world, and we can supply a solution that can be beneficial to patients regardless of whether they're in the United States or whether they're on the savannah in Africa or the jungle in Indonesia. I mean, there's diabetes everywhere in this world, and with increased urbanization and globalization in general, we're looking into a world where there's going to be more and more diabetics with realistically poor and poorer conditions. And we're also looking into a demographics problem, which is of course huge in Asia specifically.
Right. And I mean, in the case of type 2 diabetes, the common first treatment is often the metformin.
Right.
And it would be interesting to hear any reasoning on where you see potential for your candidate to sort of, is that a combination treatment, or is it a similar line or a later line, or what do you see?
I mean, ideally, we'd like to come in as on metformin failures. I think is the right area. If not, come in even before metformin. So like completely undiagnosed or completely untreated diabetic patients. I think that would be a good spot. That being said, nowadays the guidelines for treatment of diabetes have been changed quite dramatically in the last couple of years to really promote GLP-1s as first-line treatment. And the GLP-1s are of course great, and they have very beneficial effects all around, but they're also very costly and they're not very scalable. I mean, we see that there's huge production issues everywhere, and largely I think we're looking into making a drug that can be accessible globally with good effects, and it doesn't have to be refrigerated or stored or anything in that sense. So I'd like to believe that we can be something similar to what metformin has been for many years, but hopefully with a better profile and more beneficial effects.
Got it. And I mean, Dorothy is the new chairman. She was
Yeah.
previously the founder of the company. You are the new CEO.
Yes,
Would you
she's still the boss.
yeah, okay. But would you say there's any an implication for the company? I mean, this change.
No, I mean, aside from me being the one out presenting to people like you and to the audience, and you know, I mean, it frees up a lot of time. I think anyone who's involved in this industry or in a smaller biotech company, they know how long time it takes to do just, you know, management work and to write quarterly reports or half-year reports. And I think, you know, it's really beneficial for her to have that time freed up to do science, because she's a scientist at heart, and this is where she really shines. So largely speaking, it doesn't change that much day to day, aside from drowning me in even more work, I would say, which is good.
Got it. And I mean, aside as your recent entrance as the CEO, has there been any exciting developments that you would like to share in the company?
No, I mean, we've as I showed as well, we've hired in some new people. We're really approaching a time where we need to to scale up, and we need to have the capacities in house in order to be able to handle larger trials. And of course, this is very exciting. We've had a couple of years where we've scaled in or scaled down dramatically, which has of course been beneficial in the sense of showing investors that we don't necessarily want to spend their invested money on payroll. We want to spend it on making, you know, good progress in the lab. So we've really slimmed down significantly over a couple of years, and now with this improving investor climate as it seems to be, we hope to, of course, be able to scale up again. And then I would say, of course, we got this a couple of weeks ago. We sent out a press release saying that we got like a new innovation grant to support a review and strengthening of our IP strategy. So this is, of course, work that has already started and is ongoing, and hopefully can help us to really nail the IP strategy here and now.
Right. And I mean, this I talked about this in my presentation earlier today, but I think, I mean, it's a clear fact that there's huge cash inflows in, I mean, the large players in the field right now, Noris, etc., following the GLP-1 boom. And how do you see like your opportunities in this? I mean, the area is likely to benefit from increasing investments, and how can you capitalize on that?
I think generally speaking, pharma are looking at really early stage or really late stage right now. So we're somewhere in between, which is a bit unfortunate, of course, but it just means that we need to show that, you know, this can work all the way to phase 3. Realistically, phase 3 is where big pharma would like to come in and take over a project like this. I mean, they're sitting on so much cash right now that they can wait around to see what actually works and what doesn't. So that is, you know, they're not very opportunistic in that sense. But that being said, we can also see that, you know, it's not just Eli Lilly and Novo Nordisk anymore. I mean, it's every single larger pharma company globally that seems to have an interest in cardiometabolic. So that means that they're all scrambling to buy in new assets and new opportunities. And, you know, if they get left out, they're missing out on a huge pool of cash inflow in the next 10, 20 years as well. So there seems to be quite a lot of competition from the two big ones currently on the market to scoop up projects to keep the others away. And then at the same time, there's a lot of companies like Astra, like Roche, Novartis, Johnson & Johnson, Merck, you name everyone is looking to buy in things to, you know, progress separately in the clinic or to combine with GLP-1s, for example, as we've seen quite a few times now.
Right. Perfect. So thanks a lot for this update.
Perfect. Thank you.